Welcome, everyone. I'm sorry. I up front at this lunch and learn, there is no Barry Manilow. But as people are logging on, let me go through some agenda for the day today. First, we want to make sure that you are safe and stationary. Please, your safety is our utmost concern. So if you are en route, if something happened with your schedule and you're not able to attend, we understand. So please, safe and stationary. We'd love to have cameras on so that we can see you and respond to you. Please mute your microphones. We have a lot of people on today. And if you need, please use a private chat for Q&A. You can chat our team as well as Alex directly if you need any technical assistance. So we're going to have a welcome and update on study progress from Dr. Beasley and the great Janie Poncelet. Dr. Beasley will also be speaking with us to help us remember why this study is important for the field. We'll have a discussion about the benefits of research participation by Micah and Destiny. Dr. Calb will be talking to us about randomization. Dr. Coelho will be talking with us about quality assurance in the study. And finally, not pictured here, and I apologize, is a closing from Professor Good. So without further ado, as we are getting settled, we'd love
No,
if you,
Alona isn't on there.
and Alona's not on there. So we have so many closing things that are very exciting, but no Barry Manilow. So as we are getting ready today, please go ahead in the chat. Let us know how many people are here from your team. Enter your team name, and if you're attending as a group, the number of people, or just if you're attending on your own. Well, without further ado, I'm going to have Janie give our study progress updates. Janie.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. For those that haven't met me yet, my name is Janie Poncelet, and I am the research coordinator for the telehealth study. And so I let your programs know every week who you support that is eligible for the study. And I also schedule and facilitate intros and consent sessions. So thank you to everyone who has helped to link us with individuals and families across the nation from a variety of racial and ethnic groups, levels of ID, etc. There are 208 individuals currently enrolled in the study, and we are recruiting for about one more year, with our goal being 300 to 325. Next slide. And so of those 208 enrolled, we do randomize people into groups, the telehealth group and the in-person group. So it really is a 50-50 chance which group these individuals are placed into. There are 103 that were placed in the telehealth group and 105 in person, with 37 of those in the telehealth group completing their 1 year in the study, and 43 people in the in-person group who have completed their 1 year in the study, meaning that we have had 80 individuals complete their 1 year in the study so far. Next slide.
And that's me. I'm Joni. Hi, everyone. It's nice to have you all here. Welcome. Thank you for taking time on Friday to see us. I hope you're eating pizza. Yesterday's group was eating chicken wings. I won't give any feedback about that. I feel the same way about chicken wings as I do Barry Manilow, but we'll table we'll table that. So I'm here to talk about the importance of this study. And I think the thing to begin with, next slide, is the study team. Our study team is comprised of people who are very dedicated to really increasing knowledge in the field and improving the lives of people with intellectual developmental disabilities and mental health needs. I am the PI, which means I am the principal overseeing the project. I kind of I'm sort of the conductor of the orchestra, and anybody who understands what a conductor does, the music can't be played without everybody knowing and sharing their talent. So I really am somebody who just engages talent. And part of my talent that I engage with are my co-PIs, Jessica Kramer. You've seen Jessica, her contribution to this project has been enormous. And of course, Dr. Luke Kalb, who is not wearing his yellow tie today, and he'll be talking about the importance of what we do in terms of the data and how we collect it. Next slide. Our co-investigators are Professor Tuara Good, Dr. Andrea Coelhi, and Micah Pisarkia, all of whom you'll hear from today. And again, each one brings a separate part of the musicality to our process, in addition to the members of the engagement team who you will be hearing from today, Destiny and Alona. Here is what our study team looks like. You've seen this before. It'll be in the slides in case you want to read it in greater detail. Next slide. Oh, one person I forgot to mention is the great and honorable Alex. We can't do anything without Alex. And we also can't do anything without the great Anne Klein, who oversees the SIRS database. We're funded by Patient-Centered Outcome Research Institute. Next slide. So we're going to show the video because people had a few questions, and we think the video does answer many of those questions. So take a little time while you're munching on your lunch and let's watch it.
For 30 years, thousands of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and mental health service experiences have benefited from START. START is a program that provides community-based crisis services, outreach, therapeutic coaching, and more. But since its inception, START has provided these services in person. This means that there were sometimes delays due to travel time and distance. So a team of researchers is investigating whether getting START services over the telephone or computer, a method known as telehealth, is just as helpful as when provided in person. You can help contribute to this important research by volunteering as a study participant. If you agree to participate, you will be randomly assigned to either telehealth START or in-person START. Randomization happens when you are assigned to a group by chance. For example, when you flip a coin, heads or tails can come up. In this study, you don't know which group you will be assigned to. If you're part of the telehealth group, you will get outreach and therapeutic coaching over telehealth. If you're in the in-person group, you will receive the same services in person. All assessments and crisis response will be done in person. The researchers will examine changes in mental health crises, and the quality of care reported by the person receiving START services and their family caregivers. The hope is that the study will help improve how providers deliver mental health services using telehealth, and in turn, make START services more flexible to meet the needs of people served by START. If you agree to participate, you will be in the study for 1 year. The study is voluntary, which means you can decide if you want to participate or not. You can stop participating at any time. If you do not want to participate, you can still get START services. You will get a $50 gift card every 3 months you're in the study. This means that you can receive up to $200 for participating. Loss of privacy is a possible risk in our study. All your information will be stored in a password-protected system, but there is a small chance that the information about you may be accessed by an unauthorized person. A benefit to this study is the opportunity to contribute to this important work. The researchers will use the information to make telehealth services better for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and mental health service experiences and their families. For more information, please contact the study team.
Thank you. So I wanted to make sure that you sort of have that big picture, but a couple of things to remind you of and why it's so important in the field. But before I do that, I just want to say that I noticed that Luke Kalb has a yellow tie in the video in addition to his yellow tie on the intro. So he's very into yellow. We can ask him about that later. But I think it's really important to remember that START is an evidence-informed practice, and the model has been evidence-informed since 1988. And I know that some of you weren't born yet, but I developed the project back then. And we learned from the continuous learning from the data and the study of what we do with START. Remember that START was developed when we really didn't have a lot of research behind it. And so what we needed was evidence to inform us moving forward. And so we collected that evidence, we published, and data is central to that. And all of the programs that are here today because you agreed to be part of this study, because you value being evidence informed, which increases the quality of what we do, what we do in our efforts to make sure that the outputs are or outcomes are as successful as they can be. Next slide. So we know that this is making a major contribution to the field because people with IDD have been excluded from studies and certainly not been asked what they think about their services prior to this study. And it's a rare opportunity for families as well, which others will speak to in a few minutes. And also, it helped us to define in a more concrete way about what telehealth is and develop tools to make sure that when you provide telehealth, you do the best that you can. And I just want to remind you that I talk about in my development of START how crisis intervention brings oxygen to the person and the system in an emergency. Well, coaching and outreach are essential in giving people the tools they need to address crises and prevent them from happening. So while assessments identify problems and strengths that you use to help the person live with the inevitable stressors in life, the coaching and outreach provide the opportunity to support the person. And what we're trying to figure out is whether coaching and outreach are as effective via telehealth as they are in person. Why does it matter? Because we want to make sure people have as many options as possible. We want to make sure that you and the people that you support have a choice. And in order to have a choice, you need to know that both are equally as effective or under what circumstances one could expect them to be effective. And we're not just evaluating telehealth, we're also evaluating the impact of in-person services through our study. Next slide. And now I'm going to hand this over to Micah. Thanks very much, and thank you so much for being here.
Hi, everybody. My name is Micah Pisamkia. I am a co-investigator on the study, and much of my work focuses on service recipient and family member engagement. And I just want to take a few moments to talk with you about the benefits of participating in research, of even having the choice to participate in research, because as Joni said, it is a rare opportunity and an important one that we're offering to people with IDD and mental health needs. And of course, a benefit is just something that a person may experience during or after their participation in a research study that either helps themselves or helps other people and helps us learn. As Joni said, we're making a really important contribution to the field, and that feels good to a lot of people. These kind of things, people experience benefits differently. They may not experience them immediately or at the same time or in the same ways. But all studies come with risks and with benefits. Next slide. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the structure of benefits, and I'm drawing in these next few slides on some work that myself, Dr. Kramer, Dr. Beasley, and Professor Good did on a previous project on truth and reconciliation regarding past experiences of people with IDD and mental health needs, largely people with IDD in general, in terms of research, which historically have been really negative. And so we have this kind of multi-layered structure of benefits. In the past, a lot of research harmed people with IDD. It led to harmful practices, misguided ideas about people with IDD. reinforce stereotypes, and these things harmed society and harmed our community of people with disabilities at large. But there are also benefits in research, and when research is carried out carefully and thoughtfully, um, they can have these multi-layered positive impacts. Firstly, research may benefit a person, whether it's through some direct physical or emotional benefit. Um, and many times researchers don't immediately know if there will be a direct benefit of being in a study. That's why we do the study. That's why we want to learn about what works with telehealth versus in person. Um, and secondly, those individual benefits and the things that we learn that are beneficial um, can benefit practice overall. They lead to informing treatment approaches that actually meet the needs of people with IDD and mental health needs and our families. And finally, if we have developed better practices and we are training people in a better way to carry those practices out, that benefits society at large. It benefits the whole group of people, the whole community of people with IDD and mental health needs and our families, because of the research that has then been able to shift our practice in a much more positive direction. And so each study may have its own specific and respective benefits, but even having the opportunity and the choice to participate and contribute to research as a person with IDD and mental health needs has benefits more broadly. We have had moments throughout our study when we have met with START recipients and their families and told them all the information about the study and offered them the opportunity to participate. And the START recipient themselves has said, no, I'm not interested, or I don't think this is a good fit for me. I don't like telehealth, what have you. And even though we're delighted when we get people to join our study, we celebrate those no's equally when they come from individuals themselves, because that's what it's all about. Empowering START recipients and patient voice. That is self-determination and action. And we have learned that people with IDD do see a lot of benefits to participating in research or having the opportunity to choose for themselves. Let's look at what some of those are. You'll notice that people with IDD and family members share some of these in common, but there are others that are ranked a little bit differently. For people with IDD, they found it the most important that others in the community have the opportunity to learn about and from adults with IDD. And this is understandable because of the amount of stigma and stereotypes that our community has faced over time. Of second highest importance, they ranked that the information that the community learns can then help improve the lives of people with IDD. Thirdly, they found it very valuable to feel that they are helping others through participating in research and the contributions that they make. Fourth, it was very beneficial to them that they felt valued and worthwhile for the time that they spent in research and the contributions that they made. And fifth, kind of back to that story that I told, they found it very beneficial to have the opportunity to feel in control of their own choice and to make that choice about participating in research or not. And you'll see that the family members ranked that one the same as them. That family members see that as a very important benefit as well. Family members found it most important that the information that the community learns does improve the lives of people with IDD. Secondly, they found it very important and beneficial that people with IDD have the opportunity to feel valued and worthwhile. Thirdly, they ranked the community learning about adults with IDD. And fourth, they found it very beneficial and important that the person with IDD has the opportunity to share their thoughts and experiences, because as Joni mentioned earlier, we're not often asked what we think or what our experience of our services has been. And so having that opportunity to speak for yourself, to share from your own experience is really, really important. Let's take a moment to talk about what the specific benefits of our own study might be according to this kind of multi-level model that we have. So take just a minute and talk amongst yourselves over your pizza about how having the opportunity to participate in our telehealth study may benefit individual people receiving START services. How can it benefit the practices that we use serving people through START? And how does society stand to benefit overall from the study and from those other two layers? Um, so discuss for a moment, and then we'll share with you um, those benefits as our team sees them. And as we go through these, I'd love to see a show of hands, whether you chatted with your colleagues over pizza or you just reflected on your own. If any of these came to your mind as you were thinking it through or talking it through. But we'll start with the person. The main benefits that our study team kind of sees for folks is the opportunity that giving folks the opportunity to share their thoughts and experiences regarding the services that they've received. And to influence, our improving our knowledge and improving our practices through their sharing. And of course, the personal satisfaction of knowing that one is contributing to important new knowledge about people with IDD and improving services for others going forward. At a practice level, we see our study as offering findings that can lead to improvements in START services, not only our telehealth services, although we are focusing on that, but as Joni said, we're also looking at ways to improve our in-person services, and we're able to learn about the services we offer across the board. And the creation and enhancement of telehealth best practices for people with IDD and mental health needs that will ultimately lead to better mental health outcomes. This is something that's never been studied before and is making a really important contribution to the field and to what service providers are able to offer people. And societally, those findings and those new best practices can lead to an improved quality of services for people with IDD and mental health needs that we hope that even other providers will look to START as kind of a model to follow, to emulate, to learn from. And thank you so much for your time. I'm going to pass it to my colleague Destiny to talk more about the importance of choice.
I was affected by others making the decisions for me and not with me. I was frustrated and upset because they didn't know what I was struggling with and what I was capable of at the time, and made me feel disappointed and a burden on them. And so with START services, they have given me the option to be my own advocate. It has made me a better advocate, and it gave me the options to grow and learn and speak up and learn myself as well. As before, I didn't really have a voice, and for a long time, I wasn't included in making my own decisions. So when I guess had the right support and access, I was able to take part in a lot more research projects and grow and find more freedom in myself and enjoyment in my life, knowing my own limitations and being able to achieve small goals in life because I've learned to grow and um, open up my support systems and um, relationships with providers and um, making the decisions for my life and my independence.
Can
Luke.
you hear me?
We sure can. It sounds a little, I keep talking. It sounds a little cutting out.
Uh, yeah, there's feedback. That's really bizarre. Oh,
You're
how
good
about
now.
now? Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Luke Calb. I'm not wearing a yellow tie. Sorry to disappoint you. Uh, but we will keep going. So I'm the data guy. So I'm going to talk to you about randomization. If you have any statistics or data-oriented questions, feel free to ask me. So this is going to be a comparative effectiveness study. That means that we're going to be comparing two groups. That's going to be in person versus telehealth. And these groups will be assigned at random. Next slide. Randomization is a way to best learn if Start Telehealth is better, worse, or the same as in-person services. Next slide. So why is randomization important? It is the best way to reduce bias. So when we want to compare telehealth versus in-person, when people start making decisions about those choices, it can result in two very different groups receiving two very different services. That can make it very difficult to interpret the findings. Randomization, when a computer decides of who gets what, it balances these two groups when samples get large enough. Next slide. Really, what we're trying to do is establish cause and effect, which is a very difficult thing to do. And that's why what are called randomized trials, which we are engaged in, is the best, it is the gold standard way to do that. And it does that. What's really important is if we want to make decisions off of a study, we need the best possible methods available. And that is it. Because we know when a computer randomizes people, it takes the decisioning out of the users and the delivers of care. That is important because the decisions made in START are likely not the same decisions made outside of START. And so if we want the findings here to generalize there, the best way to do that is with randomization. Next slide. The in-person group is in-person therapeutic coaching and outreach, which is done in person, either at the home or in the community. Next slide. The telehealth group is done over the phone or computer for therapeutic coaching and outreach. But as you should know, what is important is all intake and assessments are done in person and crisis response is done in person. We are not evaluating intake and assessments and crisis response. It's just therapeutic coaching and outreach. Next slide. Adherence to randomization is very important, right? So if a person is actually not receiving the services as randomized, then randomization effectively breaks down. And what it effectively becomes is a study of regular start services where you're all making decisions about therapeutic outreach and coaching just based on preferences. And again, that makes it hard to understand cause and effect, and it makes it really hard to say what would happen outside of START. So it really limits the understanding of our study. Next slide. This is a overview of the study design from beginning to end. The consent process begins 90 days within a person enrolls into the START program. That's when consent and randomization takes place. We follow individuals over time, checking in and giving their gift cards, and then the outcomes are 12 months after start services. It is a 1-year study. We have 4 separate outcomes of this study. They are mental health as measured by the ABC, crisis service utilization in terms of crisis response in the network, use of emergency department or hospitalization for mental health purposes, and quality of care, mainly reported for the family experiences interview survey, but a secondary measure is going to be the person experiences interview survey. Next slide. We know that not all things work for all people. And so one important part of this study is to understand if there are differences in outcomes that I just talked about across 4 different groups, different racial ethnic groups, those who live in rural versus urban settings, different levels of intellectual disability, and the type of language spoken in the house. Next slide. All right, I will turn it over to Andrea.
Hey, everybody. It's good to see you today. Big surprise. I'm going to walk us through the quality assurance aspect of the research study. For those of you I haven't met, my name's Andrea Coilly, and I'm an investigator for this on this project. So we interface with people eligible for and enrolled in the study, and also you as the START team members at 3 distinct phases: study introduction, enrollment in the study, and then during the study itself. So I'm going to break down each of these and talk you through what we do and how we engage you kind of through that process. The first phase is study introduction. And in this phase, we focus on eligibility and study introduction. START recipients are eligible for the study if they are between the ages of 12 and 45. They live in a family setting as defined in SIRS, or they live independently and are their own guardian, or they are non-conserved. And then they also have to be newly enrolled in START. And we define newly enrolled in START as within the last 120 days. Every single week, identified members of your leadership team receive an eligibility report from our study staff. And these reports will come directly from the telehealth study email, but shocker, they're all prepared by Janie. And in these reports, you'll see every single person that you currently serve who are eligible for the study broken down into 2 categories. The first category is people who meet all the eligibility criteria and are still in the first 60 days or so of enrollment in START. This is really the intake period. And through our experience and also feedback from you, we learned that we really shouldn't be introducing the study to people until they've been enrolled in START for at least 60 days or about 2 months. And this is because in these initial days, you're really focusing on getting to know the person and their family. They're getting to understand what START services are. You're developing perhaps the first draft of the Cross Systems Crisis Plan and developing some protocols around that. And it's kind of hard for people who are still learning about the service to then be able to make an informed decision about participating in the research study. So the second group of folks on that eligibility report are people who meet all of the eligibility criteria and have been enrolled in START for 60 to 120 days. This is really the ideal time to be introducing the study. So we ask you around this time, with the permission of the person and their guardian, of course, that you as the START coordinator invite a member of the study team to participate in an existing outreach visit. Not a team meeting, but an outreach visit with the person and their family member. And while it's our role to introduce the study in greater detail, it really is best practice to ask families if it's okay if you invite someone to your visit. So here's an example of how you might present the opportunity to the family. This is actually available in a document that's been shared with all of you. I'll read it out loud. It just kind of hits the highlights, but this is kind of the information that you want to cover. Our team's participating in a study about START that you and your family are eligible for. The study is trying to understand if some planned START services delivered over telehealth are as effective as in person. Telehealth means any services provided over the phone, computer, or tablet. The study does not change the amount of START services you will receive or the help you get from us in a crisis. People who agree to be in the study will receive gift cards. A member of the study team would like to join our next meeting to tell us more about it. It'll only take about 15 minutes. Is that okay with you? So if the family agrees that we can attend one of the outreach visits, we can either send you a meeting link because our team is fully remote, or you can share one with us, whatever is easier. And a member of the study team will attend the outreach visit and provide some additional information about the study. The introduction takes about 15 to 20 minutes or so, depending on how many questions the family has. During the meeting, we present the informational video that you saw earlier, and then we kind of recap the main components of the study. Then the family and the person have the opportunity to ask whatever questions they have. We have all of our study materials available in English and Spanish. And so right from the beginning, as part of that eligibility process, we ask for you to let us know if the family speaks, if the family's primary language is something other than English. We have members of the study team who are certified START coordinators and speak Spanish available to conduct introduction and consent meetings. And then we have interpretation services for other languages as needed. So if the family expresses that they're not interested, then no further communication is needed. We thank them and you for their time, and that's kind of all she wrote. If the family is interested, then the study team will move forward with the informed consent process. And we can either complete that right during that outreach visit if time allows, and if it doesn't, we schedule another meeting. So during the informed consent meeting, it can, like I mentioned, it can either be part of the initial outreach visit or during another identified time. The person and the guardian, if they have one, must be present because both will have to consent or assent to participate in the study. It's not required or expected that the START coordinator attend this informed consent meeting, but the family might ask you to if they would like additional support. So that's something that you and the family can negotiate. It's not a requirement from our end. During the consent meeting, the study team reviews in a little bit more depth all of the study procedures, the risks, and the benefits. START recipients with guardians will have the opportunity to provide what's called informed assent. We need both guardian consent and informed assent when somebody enrolled in START who wants to participate in the study has a legal guardian. And if people are unable to provide informed assent, they may qualify to enroll under an assent waiver. And we, as a study team, have certain criteria that we have to meet in order to do that. So we assess that along the way. Our goal is always to provide accommodations when appropriate and use sort of universal design so that folks are put in the best position possible to provide informed consent and assent. After a person enrolls in the study, the person is randomly assigned to either receive outreach and planned therapeutic coaching in person or via telehealth. And the person and their guardian and you as a START coordinator are notified within 24 business hours of providing informed consent, what group they're assigned to. After enrollment, the study team's quality assurance efforts really focus to data monitoring, participant monitoring, and then monitoring completion and readiness for completion in the study. All START protocols and assessments should be completed as outlined by the National Center for START Services. These include the START plan, the FEIS, the PEIS, and the ABC. For everyone enrolled in the study, we also check to be sure that at least 75% of planned therapeutic coaching and outreach with the person and their caregiver is delivered within the randomly assigned approach. So that is either at least 75% provided in person if they're in the in-person group, or 75% via telehealth if they're in the telehealth group. We also need to ensure that all coaching and outreach contacts are documented in SIRS as well. So we might reach out to the START team if we notice that outreach and planned therapeutic coaching is provided less than 75% of the time in the assigned group, or that the volume or the frequency of outreach, the number of contacts appears low, just to make sure that all the data is in the database. We review all of these data at least monthly. So we typically reach out a minimum of monthly, sometimes more often if we notice something. And if for whatever reason you're unable to provide coaching or outreach within the assigned group, we just ask that you let us know a little bit more about why that may be the case so we can document it, whether it's weather, illness, something of that nature. Things tend to come up. And I also want to put in a little plug. There are resources for telehealth delivery located in Moodle rooms that were developed as part of the first phase of this project that are really designed to promote engagement via telehealth. So you can access them in Moodle rooms. In addition to data monitoring, we also check to see if there are any coordinator assignments or if the coordinator assigned changes during the course of the study. If they do, we ask that you do your best to remember to notify us as soon as possible. We also tend to ask the leadership team when we meet with you on a monthly basis, and then we check in SIRS on a weekly basis to see if anything has changed. If there is a newly assigned START coordinator for someone who's enrolled in the study, then we'll reach out to you. We'll send you a welcome to the study email. And in that email, it'll let you know the SIRS number of the person enrolled, what group they're enrolled in, how long they've been in the study, and we'll also give you a 1.5-page document that outlines all of the protocols that we're reviewing today. For participant monitoring, we meet with START program leadership monthly, like I mentioned, to review eligible START recipients and also to monitor adverse events and complete this QA review that I've been talking about. After 6 months of enrollment in the study team also checks in via a brief online survey. We send the survey via email and also through snail mail to the START recipient and their family. And we reach out to you as the START coordinator at around that time. You're asked to complete, to answer a couple of questions. It probably takes, what do you think, Janie, a total of like 30 seconds?
Yeah.
To answer those questions and to hit to send it back to us. It's another opportunity for us to double check and make sure that there have been no adverse events, or if they are, that we're just monitoring those and doing our very best to make sure that people are doing okay. Participants are in the study for 1 year or until inactivation from START. If a person is inactivated prior to a year in the study, then we ask that readministrations of all assessments are completed. This is a general NCSS protocol. This is not just true of the study. It is best practice to complete reevaluations of assessments upon inactivity. If the START recipient remains active for 1 year or after 1 year, after their time in the study, you and the family will receive an email from the telehealth study informing everyone that the study is complete, and will also thank you very much for completing your assessments. And I just want to mention, like, this was a lot of information, and also some of you have heard this in a couple of different forums. What we reviewed today is available in a 1.5-page handout that's been provided to START teams. And if for some reason you can't locate it, please feel free to email the telehealth study and we'll get it sent along as soon as we can, very quickly, because we monitor that email address all the time. So thank you very much. That's all I got.
We'd like to thank Alona Wilson for joining us today and speaking with you about the importance of research to families.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ilona Wilson, and I want to talk about being a parent of a child with IDD and mental health. I got involved in START, seemed like 18 years ago, where I was new to this program and had a coordinator that walked through my door, introduced herself, and taught me so much about START. And this is why I'm here today, talking to you how important this research is and this team that works really hard at getting this done. And when I met that coordinator, it seemed like 10 years ago, through START, she came in, and as passionate as I was about people with IDD and mental health, because this has been my career, she was passionate about START and telling me what it could offer me. And that's why I am sitting here before you today, because of that coordinator did years ago for me and my son. This research study that I've been a part of has been so amazing. it has taught me so much and about what the future holds for other parents with children with IDD and mental health, and how we want to be involved. And I talk to a lot of parents. I talk to them a lot about how amazing START is and how amazing the coordinator that introduced me to this program and that put me on the path that I am on now. And I know talking to you, and I'm hoping that something I say that you, when you meeting these parents for the very first time, that you show the passion that I'm telling you about, that I feel about START, about what they did for me and my son. And being a part of this engagement team has really brought this out and gives me hope for the future for other families and other individuals that have IDD and mental health. And I really appreciate you guys listening to me today. And I just wanted to say one more thing to Joni. She started this in 1988. I graduated from college in 1987 with this passion of working with people with IDD and mental health. So I have one on her now. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you, Alona. We'd also like to welcome um, Professor Tuara Good, who will be speaking with us today, this afternoon, about the value of diverse perspectives in research.
Thank you, Jessica, and thank you, Alona, and all others who have presented today. This will be really very brief. As we think about diverse perspectives in research, I think we've already heard from Joni, from Luke, from many others, is that in order for research to be meaningful, we need to have the perspectives across, I would say, all of the populations who are receiving services through START. So that would mean age group, that would mean gender, that would mean race, ethnicity, language spoken, it would mean geographic locale, and other important factors. So in absence of having this kind of diverse perspectives in research, then we could only say that that research may work for a specific population. And that is not generalizable across other population groups. We also know that persons who experience intellectual and developmental disabilities have been underrepresented overall in research. And so that is also extremely important work that you're doing and supporting START persons receiving START services to participate in this research study. I think that we also have to really look at what does diverse perspectives mean. Sometimes people think that diverse perspectives only mean perspectives from specific racial and ethnic groups. We're looking across all people because they're all cultural beings and they all bring unique experiences to the setting. And so again, I don't want to elaborate or go on and on about this. I do want to commend you for all of the work that you're doing, as well as the team. But we have to get as many perspectives as possible so that the power of our research is able to speak for itself in publications and in practice. And as Micah had indicated earlier, really impacting society. So I will stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Tuara. I'm gonna say a few things. I think I'm on, is that right, Jessica? Am I up next? Jessica?
You are. I was given a thumbs up. Sorry.
Okay, sorry, I don't see it. So I just wanted to thank you all again, and I wanted to address just a couple more things. Some of it's a little dry, but I just want to kind of say it. Some of you might be thinking, research studies, I'm skeptical. You know, people with IDD have been exploited in research. How do we know that this is really the benefit that this study team is talking about? And I just wanted to say that there are checks and balances in place. We have the institutional review board at UNH, which goes through everything that we do, and we have to report any issues or problems or changes in our methods to ensure that they are respectful of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, but also respectful of you as providers, so that we try very hard to engage you in a positive way and to make sure that you understand the voluntary nature of everything that you do. And we hope through this lunch and learn that you continue to want to volunteer to do this important work with us. But we want to make sure that you know that we are very aware that you are doing this because you want to do it, not because you have to do it. The other thing is we do have the Data Safety Monitoring Board, which those adverse events that we hear about all the time, we check on those. We meet with them quarterly. It's a separate board of people who are not directly involved in the study to make sure that people are not negatively impacted by being in the study. And if there are concerns, that we address them immediately. And PCORI reviews, that our funder reviews everything we do every 6 months. And so we're very accountable to a lot of different entities to make sure that this is fair, it's reasonable, and it's respectful of everyone who's participating in it. And I just want to thank you all, because although none of the work that you do is different from being in this study, it is impacted by the group that you're selected to be in that we're asking you to use that as your primary vehicle for outreach and telehealth. For outreach and coaching. And we understand that some of you may feel less comfortable with one method or another, and that you're pushing yourselves and learning more about how to do these things as a result of the study. And just one final note, practice makes perfect. So if you're not used to doing this stuff with telehealth, and now you have a person in the telehealth group, we've provided a lot of resources, but we're always here to support you. And if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to us, because as Luke said, adhering to the group that is assigned to the best of your ability is what will make the outcomes from what we learn more valuable. And I just want to thank you again and hope you had a great lunch. And I will hand this off back to Jessica.
We are actually going to close with Alex. Thank you, Alex.
Sure. So Jessica is going to share on the screen a QR code that is a link just to a survey that we'd ask that all of you do. If you guys could scan it with your phone app, we'd appreciate it. We're going to just use this feedback to know if you guys want to have another lunch and learn later on, and the things that maybe you would want to learn from us then. So please give us feedback. We will take it all into account.
As we are wrapping up, we'll leave that QR code up on the screen. We know you are busy. So in our few minutes left, we want to respect your time and make sure we give you these minutes for you to complete that code.
That once he pulls that down, can we have a quick wave before the end?
Sure.
Yeah.
Do want to let everybody know that in addition, we have a study website. I'm making sure I'm looking at people. This QR code is for our study webpage. So you are welcome to share those resources with other people outside of START. And as always, contact our team at any time at the start.telehealthstudy@unh.edu, and we will pull this down for a wave.